November 18th, what have you got for us? Got a bit of a day very focused on Scorpio energy. And we are moving throughout this day down towards not only a square to Pluto, but also a conjunction to Lilith. And we're ending off in a bit of a stressful kind of energy, okay? So the story of the day is really starting off with something that is trying to be kind of mildly positive, but can be a little bit annoying, right? Because this is the sort of energy here, 26 degrees being a Taurus degree, a semi-sextile trying to like show something to us, right? Trying to like have us see something, but it might not be clear, right? Like some kind of link is trying to be shown to you, okay? So when we're looking at what the link could possibly be here, Lilith representing the rejected self and the moon representing your emotions, we can see that the link is very likely to be how you are dealing with your kind of darker emotions or your sexual desires, right? Dealing with that Scorpio energy or your creative energy or anything that can kind of be considered taboo when you're in a conversation one-on-one with someone. So this aspect is kind of trying to bring up some sort of internal monologue mentality sort of system around where you don't feel comfortable, where you don't feel worthy of being able to have your needs heard and or met, okay? Where the balance is off. And so when we get this 7:35 Mercury sextiling Pluto, remembering that Mercury is retrograding, it is back at 1 degree of Sagittarius. It's almost about to move back into Scorpio in a few days. So we're still in this truth seeker, wisdom searching kind of an energy, okay? Remembering that one of the things that Sagittarius energy can struggle with is being able to find the information to back up something that is truthful. So we sort of are seeing here with this Mercury retrograde sextiling Pluto, like where there is maybe like a possibility, where there is a potential, where there is something that needs to be explored a little bit more when it comes to these two ideals, right? So Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius is looking for your authenticity that you don't show people. And Mercury at that 1 degree of Sagittarius going backwards is looking for this kind of truth, but within you, within your mentalities and your journey. And it wants these two things to kind of work together, right? There is some kind of problem solving situation that can be kind of handled if we are looking at this. And so this review, this Mercury retrograding in Sagittarius with this aspect is really trying to show you where there's an authentic part of you that can be actually used to help shift these kind of inner mentalities, right? And then we get these two quincunxes, or in conjunct, if you want to call it that. And these are going to be a little bit intense because they're all happening at 29 degrees, but there is compromise required, right? So that first one, compromise needs to come forward here when we're looking at something that is generational and has been taught to you in a generational way. Okay, so there is an internal program, an emotional program, or a rule structure that you have that actually is just something that your family told you was truth, and it actually doesn't ring true for you. Okay, so something within that needs to have a compromise, needs to be kind of let go, needs to be sort of noticed. But these in conjunct or a quincunx is very difficult to be able to make a decision because all it's trying to do is cause kind of tension so that you look at what it is that needs to be changed. So again, dealing with that Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus, we could be looking at the last 8 years of your life. And then Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces is going to have you looking back 15 years, or we can go ancestrally, which is that 160 years, right? So what is the family mentality? What is the family programming? What have you been shown in the last 8 years needed to change within that family programming? And here it says you kind of have to look at it now. And then we get this really interesting 10:33 a.m. The moon moves into Scorpio after being void with that sextile. I think it goes void the night before, actually, being void up until this point. It moves into Scorpio. And then we get this moment of stress, right? Because this moon in Scorpio is rolling into the new moon. So it is quite intense, okay? And The North Node now at 15 degrees of Pisces kind of brings this little bit of curiosity to something that's uncomfortable. So this sesquiquadrate is going to really, because they are always trying to show something about a behavior that is compulsive or obsessive, or you keep getting stuck, right? So this is really the beginning of this Scorpio new moon, this transformative energy of it. And this is asking you to be a bit more curious, right? Like remain curious about where you're going, even though there's this bit of stress, right? So you might have to make a decision, or you can feel that there's an imminent decision that needs to be made, right? And very likely after that energy of the morning, there is something has to be decided. But because we have all of these retrogrades going on, it is quite difficult to actually make a fucking decision. And so then we get to this 11:15, and this is like, let it go. And Saturn comes in and says, let it go, right? There is something that doesn't align with the programming that you've now running internally, right? Like you need to update your system to be more in line with who the fuck you are now, not with who your family were. And so when we move into this next semi-sextile that is coming in with the Mercury retrograde, we are wanting to really, and this could be quite annoying, we're all going to be awake at this time, and then the moon's going to square Pluto, so that we're sort of moving into this almost frustrating kind of battle kind of energy, and we're trying to uncover something here. We're trying to see, where is like the gift that you have if you allow your inner mentality to choose its own journey based on its I am energy and what it is that I fucking want and what it is that I need to transform. Okay. And then this moon squaring Pluto, this is very fucking interesting, right? So this is happening around midday. And this is very likely to cause a battle because we're dealing with Scorpio energy, axis of possession, and we're dealing with Aquarius energy on the axis of ego, right? So both of these energies can be very powerful. Both of these energies are definitely going to sort of fight for dominance, right? Because they both want to be in charge here. Scorpio is kind of being controlled right now by Pluto in Aquarius and also Mars in Sagittarius. So there's a lot of fire behind it. There is also a lot of ego behind those two energies being in control. And then Pluto in Aquarius is trying to get you to find your I am weirdness, right? And let other people see it because there is power in that. And Scorpio moon, it doesn't fucking trust anyone, right? So there is a little bit of paranoia that's going to start rolling in with this Scorpio moon, because not only have we got the moon in Scorpio, the sun's in Scorpio, Lilith's in Scorpio, and we're all just in this energy of just being a little bit paranoid about certain things. And so this square, everyone's sort of heightened with the paranoia. Everyone's a little bit heightened with like what I can actually show people about myself because I don't really trust anyone. And then what we actually will start to realize throughout this day is when we get to this aspect at 7:52 p.m., this biquintile to the 29-degree Neptune fucking retrograde, is that if you just follow your joy, and this is going to sound so lame, but this is literally how this reads. If you just follow your own internal joy, right, it will show you the way of releasing the ancestral, the generational kind of programming that you were being told is truth. Okay. And then we get this sesquiquadrate with Jupiter at 10:22 p.m. And this is where we're really being asked to focus on the long-term adventure, right? Mars at 10 degrees of Sagittarius. Focus on the long-term adventure, right? And the reason why you haven't been able to get to whatever that is, whatever this wisdom is that Sagittarius wants, whatever this focused goal, whatever this future moving situation is that you need to be getting to, you haven't gotten there. You feel stuck. Why? Something obsessive, something compulsive, some kind of pattern, some kind of indecision hasn't been able to be made. Why hasn't it been able to be made? Well, Jupiter at 25 degrees of Cancer, retrograding, okay? How has your family or the expansion of that, so the ancestors, the generations, right? How has your family spaces, even your early relationships, impacted your ability to feel comfortable being I am and accessing your I am energy, right? So a decision has to be made about what lessons, what programming you're taking with you from that ancestral generational family space, what you actually want to take with you, because Mars at 10 degrees of Sagittarius wants you to focus on a goal now, right? Then we get to this 10:33 p.m., which makes this 10:22 one a lot easier to deal with, okay? So this conjunction is especially powerful, which is, this is you, 10:33 p.m., get out there. Get out there, especially if you are like looking for some kind of honesty in relationships, that kind of an energy. You're looking for something to invest in, right? Whether it be a relationship or money, right? This is a really great energy to kind of lock in some kind of magic around investment, long-term money, making money just by existing, not being embarrassed about the amount of money that you make, these kind of energies, okay? So 10:33 p.m., 26 degrees is the Taurus degree, right? So this is also could be like a contract kind of coming to an end, because Scorpio ruled by Pluto. Pluto is about contracts. Some kind of contract coming to an end in regards to the last 8 years of that Uranus in Taurus. What have you been working towards? What have you been kind of trying to do? And Taurus being related to money, for some people, depending on where this sits in your chart, this could be finally something coming in after 8 years of fucking work, right? Finally seeing some kind of result come in. For other people, you might have that in a relationship. You might have that in your emotional space, that just depending on where it sits in your chart. Okay. So check on what house that Scorpio energy is in, because it's very likely that some kind of opportunity or ending or reward kind of situation is going to show up within this Scorpio moon, these 3 days of the Scorpio moon. So then we get 11:19 and we get a little bit of stress again. Now, this one is because whatever we've kind of overcome with this Sun and Lilith situation in regards to parts of you that you've rejected, parts of you didn't feel worthy of, parts of you that gave you guilt, that gave you shame, that gave you, an easy way to kind of reject things about who you are as a person because the external world didn't like it, right? And so whatever those parts are, we kind of get empowered with this like readiness to do the work, to put in the effort, to show up, right? And then this one at 11:19 is kind of like, either you're questioning it in like an anxious kind of way, or like someone that you are in a relationship dynamic with is questioning it. Because they are questioning, it's either questioning of like what you thought relationships should be like what you've been taught from your family, the ancestors, from your traumas, right? What is that inner programming that we are sort of releasing? And Venus at 14 degrees of Scorpio. So we are looking for that stability. And again, if this is related to your career or your finances in your birth chart, then again, this is having to make a fucking decision about money, right? Having to make a decision about it, having to make a decision about a relationship stability, having to make a decision about bringing something up in a relationship that you've potentially thought isn't stable enough to hear it. Okay. So it's a pretty powerful day. These 3 days are going to be very powerful with the Scorpio new moon. So really kind of be a bit more internal over these days and really listen to what your body is telling you. And there's going to be some divulging of fucking secrets in the next few days. So just be aware of that. If you have secrets, I would advise you to talk about them in your own time, not in a moment where it's kind of going to be forced out of you. If you are interested in the group therapy that I have got on the 1st of December, go and book your place. You can find all the information about that on my TikTok. Otherwise, stay weird.